fellow book lovers, welcome back to the Bibliovert channel. My name is Jacqueline, and since it is already July, I thought that I would do a little bit of the best and worst books that I have read in 2022 and do a little mid-year book freak out. So I have my list of questions ready to go. There are a handful, and I'm really excited to get to talk about some of my favorite books and maybe some that I did not love as much this year. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first question is, what is the best book that you have read this year? And of course, I can't just give one answer, so I actually have two. And both of these are very different from one another, but still absolutely fantastic books. So the first one is My Killer Vacation by Tessa Bailey. Y'all, this book is so funny. Like, absolutely laugh out loud. So incredibly funny. Tessa Bailey is just the queen of humor and banter. Basically, this book is about a girl named Taylor who goes on vacation with her younger brother to Cape Cod, and as she's going about her house, they're getting all settled in, she discovers a dead body. And she is like a true crime podcast aficionado. So when the bounty hunter is called in as a favor to help solve the case, she tags along. And of course, there is some deep attraction and chemistry going on between her and the bounty hunter, Miles. This book is just one of the funniest things ever. Also, it's got some nice spice in there. I wouldn't say it's the spiciest book I've ever read, but there's definitely spice. It's a quick read. It's like 290 pages, but it's just so funny and surprisingly heartwarming at the same time. So I've actually read this book twice this year. We got it as an ARC, so I went ahead and read it before it came out. And then we literally just did an episode on this for the Bibliovertpodcast. So I reread it again, and I loved it both times. I actually loved it more the second time I read it than I did the first time. And the first one, it was like a 5 out of 5 star for me. So because I can kind of get myself in trouble when I reread books, and I can find that I don't like it as much the second time around, the fact that I absolutely loved it solidified that it deserves to be one of my favorite books of the year. The second book that's one of my favorites this year, it's so good. It is Culty by Mariana Zapata. Now, this is slow burn. Literally the complete opposite of this book. Slow burn to the extreme. The book is like 500 pages plus, I think. And like, we don't get anything until the very last chapter of the book. So if you're expecting this to be like kind of a quick, there's some spice in it, this is not, don't have that expectation going into this book. It is super, super slow burn. There's a little bit of spice, but it is at the very, very end. So if you're expecting that, you might be disappointed. But essentially the book is about a woman named Sal who is playing professional soccer for the city of Houston, and she idolized this German soccer player her entire life until an event happened, and she was absolutely devastated. Well, he, Rainier Culty, is now coming on to be one of the assistant coaches for her soccer team. So there is an age gap romance. It's 12 years. She is 27, he's 39. He's the boss, grumpy sunshine. I hate everybody but you. It is so good and so well done. And Culty is just, I love him as a character. I absolutely fell in love with him. And it just is an absolute masterpiece. So it's hands down one of my favorite books this year too. So the next question is, what's the worst book that you've read this year? Obviously, this is completely subjective to the individual. These are books that not only did I not enjoy, but they made me irrationally angry. And for whatever reason, didn't DNF them. Like, I stuck it out to the end and decided to, I don't know, torture myself, I guess. So if you really enjoy these books, I am so sorry, but they just weren't for me. The first one was Good Girl Complex by Elle Kennedy. Y'all, this book, it like glorifies cheating. The love interest is just mean. You're literally rooting for her to be single at the end of this book. Like, genuinely, I wanted our main character to be like, nope, I deserve better. I am worth more. I'm going to be single, live my life, be an absolute boss. But no, that's not what happened, so sorry. This book just like incited a rage within me that I did not know I possessed. It was not it for me. Okay, so the next question is, what is the best sequel that you have read so far? I have not read very many sequels this year, which is kind of surprising. I think there are only 2, and I really, really liked both of them, so I thought we would talk about them. The first one, I know that this might be a wee bit controversial, but I really, really loved Crescent City, House of Sky and Breath. I thought it was really good. I liked the direction that a lot of the characters took. There was a lot of character growth in there. It wasn't quite a 5 out of 5 star read for me. I think it was a 4.5 star read. I enjoyed the plot. I know some people really didn't like it, but it kept me entertained. I thought that Bryce was a really wonderful, dynamic character. We got to meet some new characters and get to know some like other side characters more in this book, and I really, really enjoyed the characters that we got to know. I thought it was really wonderful. I know that the ending, some people have feelings. Allie completely disagrees with me on the ending of the book and how we feel about it, but I liked it. I was excited as I was reading it. So this one really surprised me because I enjoyed Crescent City 1, but I didn't love it. So I was pleasantly surprised by how much I enjoyed this book. And it made me really excited to see where the rest of the series was going. But I'm gonna keep it at that because I don't want to give any spoilers. The other one was another arc that I received, and it is Wild as the Witch by Rachel Griffin. We got to interview her for the podcast. That episode is going to be coming out later on this month. And so she gave us an arc of her second book that comes out on August 2nd. And y'all, I absolutely loved it. We're going to be talking about The Nature of Witches later, which was another one of my favorite books this year. But Wild as the Witch was absolutely incredible. They're both standalones, so they're not technically a sequel, but like, we're gonna ignore that. I just thought that the writing was still absolutely incredible. The themes that were in this book were still really, really profound. I really liked both of the characters a lot in the journey that they went on. I thought the ending was kind of different and not something that we see very often, but the sacrifices that were made by both of the characters, it was just really, really beautiful. It was so fun, it was funny, it was so descriptive and beautiful that it made me ache for the Pacific Northwest and like made me want to move there immediately because of the way that like Rachel wrote the imagery of this book was just absolutely gorgeous. So I really, really loved it and I thought it was really great. I know it's not technically a sequel, but we're gonna ignore that part because it was a really, really wonderful book. Okay, so the next question is, what is a new release that you have not read yet? Again, I have to. This first one, y'all, I've mentioned this before. I want to read it so bad. It is literally by one of my favorite authors, but I feel like I'm just going to need to be in the right headspace, and I haven't been in that headspace yet because I want to do this book the justice and the honor that it deserves. But I also think that I'm just gonna have to get over that because like, what if I'm never in that headspace, you know, and I just need to like read it and enjoy it and love it because I know I'm going to. But the book is All My Rage by Saba Tahir. Y'all, I'm so excited about this book. I have been looking forward to it. I absolutely love the Ember and the Ashes quartet. It is probably one of my favorite books of all, like series of all time. It's absolutely incredible. Saba is an amazing author. I love her writing so much. This is not fantasy, it is contemporary, and it's basically about a family who has a motel out in California, and it is a lot about the immigration process of moving there, racism that happens, family dynamics, falling in and out of love, falling back into love, and just this beautifully complex story of family and what their values are and what it means to them. And I know it's gonna rip me apart because that's what Saba does. She just absolutely destroys her readers. And I want to make sure that I, as the reader, honor Saba in this book while reading it. So I think I feel this pressure while reading it of like making sure that I'm in the right and like I'm doing it the justice it deserves as the reader. So I think that's why I've been so like, I haven't picked it up yet. But I want to. I'm going to read it by the end of the year just because it's just exquisite, and Saba Tahir writes works of art, and I'm just so excited. So this is definitely one. The other one actually just came out not too long ago, a couple weeks ago, and I haven't gotten to it yet because of the massive readathon, but it is Glow by Raven Kennedy, and it is the 4th book out of 5 in the Plated Prisoner series. I thought that this was going to be the last one. Apparently it is not. There are going to be 5. Y'all, the way that Gleam ended, I don't know how I've been able to wait this long to read Glow, because oh my gosh, talk about just like ripping out your heart. But I absolutely love this series. It's new adult fantasy, and they're also, definitely check the trigger warnings for it, because there are many. But this series just like absolutely guts me. I love it so much. Our main character, Auron, is such a dynamic character, and this viewpoint that she has of the world, it just like kills you. It just absolutely kills you so much. And there are lots of twists and turns, so many things that you don't see coming, people who you think you like you don't, and vice versa. It is just so good. And those it's just so dynamic and wonderful, and I could not recommend it enough. It is a Midas retelling, but again, there's so many twists and turns and spoilers, so that's all I'm gonna leave it at, because I don't want to ruin this reading experience for anyone, because I gasped so hard when I realized some of the things that were going on in this series. So just trust me, it's wonderful, but please check the trigger warnings. The next question is, what is the most anticipated release for the second half of the year? Again, I have 2. I'm really sorry. The first one is Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood. She wrote The Love Hypothesis, and she also had 3 novellas that have already been released. They are all absolutely incredible. I loved every single one of them. They're just a delight, and the audiobooks are actually really good as well. But this one is going to be her second full-length novel. I fell in love with Olive and Adam and the dynamic that they had, and that is one of my comfort read books. I just absolutely love it. And Allie is one of the most precious human beings on the entire face of the planet, and this book just sounds like it's going to be so much fun. This book is about a woman named Bee who gets her dream job at NASA by being a co-lead for the neuroengineering department. However, she hates her other co-leader, so it sounds like a nice little enemies to lovers moment. And basically it sounds like they bicker a lot, that they disagree on literally everything, but when she starts to find herself in a bit of a pickle at work, he starts standing up for her and helping her out and softening towards her, and I just think it's going to be so great, because literally everything she's written has been fantastic. So I am very much so excited for this one, and she is just one of the most precious human beings on the face of the planet. So I cannot wait to read this one. Okay, the other one that I'm really excited about is The Golden Enclaves, which is book 3 in the Scholomance series by Naomi Novik. I absolutely love this series so freaking much. So much. The first one, A Deadly Education, literally, I feel like reached inside of my brain and grabbed it and had it in a chokehold for months. It's so good. It's pretty much a magical school that just actively tries to kill you. You don't have any professors. The school teaches you. And though it like throws you in the deep end of the pool by being like, okay, if you're gonna survive, you gotta swim. You don't know how to swim, well, you're gonna learn. It's so good. It's dark academia. It's moody. Our main character, Elle, is pretty much an anti-hero. She's super prickly. The power that she has is literally world destruction. Like, her ability is to just destroy everything. And all she's trying to do is not destroy everything. And all the school wants her to do is destroy everything. So she constantly has this moral tug and pull of how much power can she give? What should she do? And then the hero of the school is basically this just golden retriever who just loves fighting and saving people. And it's just so funny, their dynamic that they have going on. It's so much fun. So needless to say, this book, I'm so excited for. And the second book in the series, The Last Graduate, absolutely had me sobbing by the end of it. Sobbing uncontrollably, and then left you on a cliffhanger that I don't know if I've recovered from. So the day this book comes out, September 27th, you better believe I am spending the entire day reading this book because I cannot wait. I love it so much. I just think it's going to be amazing. So yeah, I can't wait for this one. I love this series, and I believe I could be wrong, but I believe that this is going to be the last book in the series, so I can't wait to see how it wraps up. Okay, the next question is, what was the biggest disappointment of this year? Mine was A Game of Retribution by Scarlett St. Clair. This was one of my most anticipated reads of the year. I was so excited about it, and oh, I did not like it, like at all. Basically, this series, one of them is the touch of, so a touch of darkness, a touch of ruin, a touch of malice. And then the other one, and all of the touch-ups are from Persephone's point of view. And then the other one, the game of, so a game of fate, a game of retribution, these are from Hades' point of view. And I loved A Game of Fate so much. It was so expertly done. It was fantastic. I did not like the co-companion of this book, which is A Touch of Ruin. It's my least favorite of the series. I did not enjoy it. I thought that the characters reverted in their growth. It was just not it for me. So I was really hoping that this book would kind of redeem that situation and make me understand and like things more. Absolutely not. It made me hate it more, and I didn't enjoy this one. I didn't enjoy any of the characters. It's kind of ruined me a bit for the rest of the series, if I'm being completely honest. Super, super bummed. Wasn't for me. I would have DNF'd it if we weren't doing it for the podcast. Like, that's how strongly I felt about it. So it just wasn't it. And I'm like devastated, like absolutely devastated. I didn't like it, so big bummer. Okay, the biggest surprise for me is actually two books by the same author. I've already mentioned one of them before, but it's Wall of Winnipeg and Me and Colty, both by Mariana Zapata. Y'all, these books, I did not think I was going to like them. I literally read them on a whim, and because some people had been asking us to, so I was like, okay, fine, I'm just like gonna do it. I'm kind of in the mood for slow burn. Let's do it. Absolutely loved it so much. I gave 5 out of 5 stars to The Wall of Winnipeg and Me. I gave 8 billion out of 5 stars to Colty. So we've already talked about Colty, so let's go ahead and talk about this one. This book, oh my gosh, it's so good. So it's about Aiden, who is a professional football player in the United States, but he's from Canada, hence the title. And he has had an assistant, Vanessa, for years, and he doesn't treat her very well. He just kind of ignores her all the time. And so Vanessa is kind of like, I've had enough. I'm over this. I'm gonna quit and pursue my art career. So she does so. And basically he comes to her apartment and he's like, I need you back. I need you back like right now. And she's like, absolutely not. Like, I'm not gonna go back and work for you. That sounds awful. And he won't leave her alone. He's like, I need you back. And she's like, still no. And then he was like, I desperately need to get my American citizenship. So will you marry me and be my wife so I can get like a green card? And she's like, no. But eventually he's like, I will help you pay off your student loans, all this kind of stuff. I'll help you out. We don't have to be husband and wife in anything other than just name. You'll come live at the house, but like you won't have to do any of the work that you had previously been doing for me as my assistant. You can still pursue your job. You just need to live at this house with me and his other roommate, and that's about it. Well, of course they fall in love. This book is really, really, really great. Again, it is super slow burn. And it just like, it was wonderful. I was so pleasantly surprised. Mariana Zapata is the queen of slow burn, but she just really makes you fall in love with the characters. And again, this one was awesome, culty, next level for me. I've also read From Lukov with Love, and I liked it, but not as much as these two. Still a fantastic book, but these two in particular, I'm obsessed. I want to read the rest of Mariana Zapata's books. I took a little bit of a break because they are obviously super slow burn, so I felt like I needed something a little bit different, but I'm kind of feeling like that itch come back, so I might jump back and read some of her other works as well. And then the next question is your favorite new author. This one feels a little bit obvious and particularly redundant, but Mariana Zapata, I've loved her works. It's just been super fun reading them. They're just great. So I'm gonna leave it at that because I've already talked about her books so much at length, but been pleasantly surprised at how much I've enjoyed her works. The next question is your newest fictional crush / just new favorite character. And honestly, this question is answered by both of these characters. This was another one of my favorites of the year, and y'all, the way that I laughed so hard and fell so in love with these characters is literally unhinged. But it's Book Lovers by Emily Henry. Y'all, this book had me in stitches, and Nora and Charlie are top tier characters. I loved them so much. So basically, this is kind of like, you know those Hallmark movies where it's like the snobby, stuck-up, stubborn, mean, big city person moves to small city to like take over the family business and make it into some corporation, but falls in love with like small town girl and realizes the true meaning of Christmas. Basically, Nora identifies as like the big city lawyer's ice queen girlfriend that's in the Hallmark movies. The book starts off with Nora telling her multiple stories of how she's had boyfriends who've moved from New York to go to some small town, take over that business, and yet be broken up with because they have found the small town girl and found the true meaning of life and everything like that. So basically, this is that trope turned up on its head. Nora, who's a book editor in New York, has to go to some small town in North Carolina with her sister for a month, and her sister keeps trying to set her up with people there, and it's just an inversion of everything. It's just so funny. So I absolutely adored Nora's character. She's so funny and just so, she's just a boss. I just loved her so much. But then Charlie had some of the best one-liners I've ever read, and he just, he's a fantastic character. So basically, I just laughed my way through this entire book. I loved it so much, I recommended it to my mom. My mom absolutely loved it. It's just top tier, so funny. 10 out of 10. The next question is, what is a book that made you cry? Hands down, no doubt about it, The Nature of Witches by Rachel Griffin. This book utterly destroyed me in the absolute best way. So one of the themes of this book is essentially that you are loved for who you are, not for what you can do for others or what you bring to the table, but just innately you, and that you deserve to take up space, that you deserve to be there, that you deserve to be authentically yourself, and that people will love you for that, not for anything else. And I sobbed my way through this book. I absolutely loved it. The main love interest Sang reminds me so much of Peeta from the Hunger Games. He's just tender and vulnerable and precious and sweet and thoughtful and compassionate and consistent and steadfast. He's a botanist and they talk through flowers, and it's just so tender. And I loved the growth that Clara went on in this book, and the way that she came to love herself and her magic and the people around her. And it's just exquisite. It's so beautiful. And I loved every single second of it. The next question is, what is a book that made you happy? And this is again another one of my favorite books of the year, and it is Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. Y'all, this book is precious. It's whimsical, it's beautiful, it feels just like a fairy tale in every sense of the word. It's just it sucked me in and had my imagination going and just felt like such a fun, beautiful place to be. I really enjoyed the Caravel series. I adored this one. I loved it so much. This is about Evangeline and Jax, and they have to go on a journey together. And it's just so good. I wasn't anticipating tabbing or writing any of my thoughts, and then I just couldn't stop because there were so many quotes that I just gasped at how much I loved it. I then had the opportunity to go to a signing that Stephanie Garber was doing, and I pretty much just gushed about how much I love her writing and how precious this book is and how much I'm excited for the sequel to come out next year. Like, I just loved this book. The whimsy was off the charts, and I just felt like I had a huge smile on my face the entire time, and I just loved everything about it. Okay, so the last question is, what is a book that you want to read by the end of the year? There are literally dozens, so I'm going to show restraint and self-control and only say one. I had the incredible opportunity to also meet this author at the same time that I met Stephanie Garber, and it is Together We Burn by Isabel Ibanez. One of the most precious humans in the entire world. Hearing her talk about her own book was a magical experience in of itself. Just seeing like how much she loves it and everything that she poured into this book is just incredible. So basically this book is like matadors, with bulls. Instead of bulls though, they're dragons. And it's set in medieval Spain. What? It sounds so good. So basically it is about a character who is the matador equivalent but with dragons, and she has to pair up with a dragon hunter who hates all things about dragons. So it just sounds like such an incredible book, and Isabel was just such a dream to meet, and it was just such a fun experience that immediately I was like, I'm gonna read this like as soon as I possibly can because it just sounds unbelievable. So this one is probably at the very tippy top of my TBR, and I cannot wait to read it. Well, that is it for this video. I know it was a bit long, but I hope that you either got some book recommendations or saw some of your favorites on here. So please let me know what books you've been reading this year, what your favorites or least favorites were. I would love to hear them. But we love making new friends, so please feel free to check us out over on Instagram at the Bibliovert We love talking about books with people, so please feel free to send us a DM about any book. We want to hear about it. We also have a Patreon, so if you're looking for a bookish community, we have a chat that is so much fun. We also do monthly book buddy reads and a Zoom chat at the end of the month to talk about that book. And we also have Patreon exclusive episodes of our podcast, which is called the Bibliovertpodcast. We have episodes that come out every single week on that over on Apple, Spotify, and Google Play, so definitely check that out as well. But we hope you have a fantastic week. Happy reading, and I'll see you next time.